Hey everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be doing the counterpart to our how to start collecting the Peninsular British, and you'll be shocked to hear that we're going to do how to start collecting Peninsular French. Well, I say French, but we'll get into that later. Now before we get started, one of the things that we need to address really is that the Peninsular War for the French took place from 1808 to 1814, the longest continuous theatre of operations, and unfortunately right in the middle of that, in 1812, there was the Bardin regulations came in and that changed the uniforms. So if having the right collars and cuffs is important to you, then you've got to look at whether you're going to do what I'm going to refer to as an early Peninsular War, which is 1808, when Napoleon was in the Peninsula, a mid-Peninsular War, so that's 1809 through to, let's say, 1812, when the Bardin reforms came in, or late Peninsular, which is 1812, 1813, 1814. Now, the one I'm going to look at today, because we've already done how to start collecting the French for Waterloo, which is the late period, is I'm going to do the mid-war period. So we're going to be looking at the uniforms that they would have worn in around about 1810, 1811. It's also worth pointing out as well that because the Grande Armée was in Russia, they obviously suffered a big defeat there. They needed to be rearmed, re-equipped, reclothed. The troops in Spain were very much down the order of getting new uniforms and equipment. So it's highly possible, in fact I would even say highly probable, that troops in the Peninsula in 1813 and 14 would still be wearing the pre-1812 uniforms. So don't worry too much about that, but just to get that housekeeping out of the way, we're going to go for the mid-war uniforms, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Now, speaking of housekeeping, the rules for this series are the same as always. We have £200 to spend, and we're going to divide those into two £100 chunks. The idea being that it's maybe £100 from 2 months' worth of pay, or 2 weeks, or maybe it's a holiday, it's a birthday money and Christmas money, something like that. So the idea, though, is that we use the first £100 to collect the core of our army, that we can, if we just finish there, we could still play some games with, and then we use the second £100 to build on that, buy some fun stuff, and just what I refer to as rounding out the army. So getting in the extra elements that we don't necessarily have in that first £100. Now, I will be quoting prices in this video. The prices that I quote are all recommended retail prices taken from the website. These are all correct as at time of recording. Now, one thing that I would say is, particularly when we start talking about plastic kits, they can often be found cheaper elsewhere from third-party retailers. One such is the Outpost. There is a link in the description down below for those. There's at least 2 boxes that you'll be able to get from those guys that will be cheaper than buying them direct from the manufacturer. But, it's up to you. I go for the RRP from just because that's the simplest way of doing it. What I don't include, however, so this maybe balances out the discount that you can get from the third-party retailer. What I don't include is postage and packaging, and that's because that's different from wherever you are in the world, and also because a lot of these manufacturers, they have a threshold that you get free postage from. If you can reach that, maybe you go in with your mates or something like that, then obviously that doesn't apply either. I also won't be including paints, glues, clippers, all that kind of stuff, because I assume in these videos that the people who are getting into Napoleonics are already gamers. They've maybe played 40k or fantasy, something like that, and seem to give Napoleonic gaming a go. I am intending on doing a video that covers the basics of basic tools, basically, that you need for Napoleonic gaming, but I haven't got around to that yet. I might do that in the run up to Christmas. I think that would be quite a good Christmas video. Now, finally, for the housekeeping, finally, we're going to talk unit sizes. Now, infantry, a medium-sized infantry unit, and in this video in particular, I'm not sure we've done this before. In this video, we're going to have medium, large, and small units, and a tiny unit as well, actually. So, a medium-sized unit, your average basic one is going to be 24 infantrymen, 8 cavalry, and 1 cannon. It can be 2 cannons sometimes. Often we have 2 cannons in this series. I usually say, look, buy 2, then you can either have 1 2-gun battery or 2 1-gun batteries. But in this video, it's only going to be 1, and we'll get to that when we get to the cannon, and I'll explain why that is. Now, as I said in the introduction, this is the counterpart to the how to start collecting the British Peninsular video. And it is to an extent. We're going to do something slightly different, though, which was in that video I collected to a historical formation. I think we did the 3rd Division, if I remember correctly. Well, this is going to be based on a French formation, but it's not going to necessarily follow. It's more going to be informed by, or flavoured by, I guess you could say, a historical formation. Now, I'm going to get to which one later. I'm not going to give it away yet. But the reason I wanted to go for this one and have it informed by was because in this video what I wanted to do is get at least one unit from a French ally in. Having the French cool, having the British is cool, all that stuff, but it's when you get those different uniforms on the table, I think anyway, that the table looks so much cooler. That's why for me, if you've seen my video on why Waterloo's not very good, I mean, that's not technically what I call it, but that's basically what it is. One of the arguments here in particular, the uniforms are, I mean, they're all French, there's no allies there, it's just a little bit boring. But when it comes to the Peninsula, you've got a whole wide variety of different allies and other nations that join in and help. So we're going to try and get at least one of those into this video. The time that we set the British Peninsula on was 1811, the Battle of Fuentes de Onoro. And I'm going to do the same for the French as well. But as I say, it's not necessarily going to follow the order of battle exactly. It's just going to be more informed by it. In fact, I said I was going to keep it back what division we were going to go for. I'm not. I'm going to spill the beans right now. We're going to go for the 8th Division under a guy who we've not talked about much on the channel, but he is a definite candidate for a Napoleonic figure. It is the very flamboyant and very, very good General Andros Junot. So we'll talk a bit more about him later on. Now, heading into the ranges that deal with mid-war, we pretty much always plumb for our old faithful Perry miniatures. They do a brigade deal. That's called D49, and that gives you 4 boxes of their mid-war infantry, some mounted colonels, and a cannon for £85. It's a really good deal. Fantastic. Can't knock it. If you were to say, you know what, Tim, I'm going to ignore your video, I'm going to go for that deal instead, fantastic. You know, there's no problem with it. However, I'm going to recommend something slightly different, and I'm going to do it for 2 reasons. 1, because it's nice to have something a little bit different, and 2, I think it just gives you a little bit more variation than the Perry's one does. And I'm going to suggest that we hit up Victrix. Now, Victrix do 3 boxes of French line infantry. They do what I'm going to call early, so that's around 1805. Those are the guys in bicorns. They do mid-war, that's the ones that we want. So they've got the long tail coats, but they've got shakos on. And they also do late war as well, which is the post-Bardin reforms. So we want their mid-war box, which I believe is 1808 to 1812, I think it's called. And we want to get 3 boxes of those. Now, they do a multi-buy option on the website. If you buy 3 boxes, you get 10% off. The boxes are £25 each, and you get 60 models in each box. So £75 for 3 boxes minus 10% with the discount. So it comes to, maths on the fly, always good, £67.50. And for that £67.50, we've got ourselves 180 infantrymen. Now this is one of those examples where it's definitely worth shopping around. I googled Victrix French infantry 1808, and I came back with more than one place that sells a box for less than 20 quid. So, honestly, do please shop around for these. You buy yourself 3 boxes, you save yourself nearly a tenner on top of the deal price from buying them direct. So, do shop around. But, rules is rules. We're going to go with the RRP. We are going to use the manufacturer provided discount, though. So, £67.50 gets us our 180 infantrymen. Now, using my Calculon, because I'm not that good at maths, if we divide 180 figures by 24, because that's the size of our standard regiment, battalions rather, then that gives us 7.5 battalions worth of troops. So that's a solid start. Now I think about it, I think we also had 7 battalions out of the British division as well. But there you go. Now we've got so we've got 7 battalions, 24 figures, and we've got 12 figures left over. Now don't worry, we are going to squeeze every penny, and we are going to use all 12 of those figures, but we'll discuss when we're going to use them a little bit later on. So just put them aside for now. Now, these 7 battalions are particularly useful because if I look at the Nafzinger order of battle, Gratien's brigade, which was the 1st brigade of Junot's division, Gratien's brigade had 3 battalions of the 15th Line Regiment and 4 battalions of the 65th Line, the 1st battalion of which seems to be quite large. So of the 12 spare figures that we had, we're going to take 6 of those, add them to the 1st battalion to give us a 30-figure battalion and a large battalion. You could add 8 if you wanted to, make it 32 if you're basing your models in 4s. So say we'll add 8 from that then. Ourselves 1 large battalion and 6 medium battalions. So we've got all the infantry. That's great. Now, according to the website and the boxes I've bought in the past, however, they have been repackaged in like plastic packets now. So I can't guarantee that this is 100% still the case. If anyone does know, please let me know. But as far as I'm aware, they come with flags as well, so we don't need to buy them. But one thing they don't come with are bases, so we're going to need to buy some bases. So we'll hop on over to War Bases, which is our old go-to classic, and we're going to buy 4 packs of their 40mm square bases. So that gives us enough for 4 models per base, and with 4 packs that gives us 16, 32, 64 bases. So plenty of bases to be going along with, including some spares for next month as well, so that's quite handy. And we'll also get 1 pack of 50mm round bases. Those will be for our brigade command. And we'll also have a pack of 60mm round bases. That's for our division and our corps command. These 6 packs of bases are going to set us back at £1.75 a time. They're going to cost us £10.50. So we were on £68.50 before. So now we go up to £79. Just so you know, I have actually written this out in a script, and I forgot to take off the 10% for buying the 3 boxes. So all my workings out are wrong. I'm going to have to try and do those on the fly. So apologies if I seem a little bit halfway through the working out of the maths. Now, we don't currently have any brigade command, but we do have some spare figures. Depending on how many you use to make your large battalion, we've either got 4 or 6 spare models. But certainly if we got 4, we can bang those on one of those 50mm round bases. We've got ourselves a brigade commander. Now, you do get quite a lot of officers in the set. You get basically 1 for every other sprue, so that's quite a lot. So we can use those spare officers. One of them can be the brigade commander, and jobs are good in. You could even if you've only got 4 models left over, you could even go for 2 bases of 2, and you've got yourself both brigade commanders there. Well, in this case, there'd be brigade commander for the models we've got here, and then 1 for next month. Speaking of command, I don't normally suggest that we go for corps command, because they're a little bit above our pay grade of what we're at for black powder. However, I am going to suggest that we get a model of Junot, because he is so cool. And we're going to go to a company which may be new for the channel. I'm not 100% sure. We may have hit them up before once or twice. But we're going to go for Gringo 40s, who have a very small but really nice range of 28mm Napoleonics. They're slightly bigger than the usual, but for generals and stuff, that's not necessarily the end of the world. And they do an absolutely phenomenal model of General Junot. So we're going to pick that up. Now, it's not cheap. It's £6.75, so that takes us to £85.75. And you know what? We don't really need him. He's a little bit of a luxury, but he's quite cool. So let's go for him anyway. He's a lovely model. Bang him on one of those 60mm bases. We've got ourselves our corps commander for when we finally get to that level. And also, let's be honest, we've painted we've got 180 infantrymen to paint. I think we deserve a treat afterwards, and painting Junot with his leopard skin saddlecloth is absolutely the tonic that I think we'll need. So we are 85.75 in, which is, roughly where we'd be had we bought the Perry's deal. So we're around about there, but down on the Perry's, we don't have the mounted colonels. We've got Junot instead. We don't have any artillery. So let us start that now we're going to get 1 gun from the Perrys. We are going to head on over to them. We can't survive without them for an entire month after all. And we're going to go for, it doesn't really matter which one you go for, but I am going to recommend that we go for FN 232 French foot artillery loading 8-pounder pre-1812 uniform. Now, the reason I'm going to go for this one is because in Junot's corps, he only actually had his division, sorry, he only had one battery of 4 guns, so I think that's why I'm suggesting we only go for 1 gun, and that one will get us sorted. Often if I say, oh, let's go for a 2nd gun, I might suggest a howitzer or something like that, but in this case, I just go for the cannon because we've only got the 1 gun. Now, this is going to cost us £9.50, so that takes us to £95.25. That leaves us with £4.75, and I'm going to suggest that we save that, we bank that for month 2. It's not often that we carry over money. We're normally making a deficit by the end of month 1. But in this case, we've got ourselves just under a £5, and we'll take that over to month 2. So what have we got at the end of our first month? Well, we have 6 medium-sized battalions of infantry, plus 1 large battalion. We've also got a base of command, and we've got our divisional commander, General Junot, and we've got our cannon as well. Now, the gun we can put on one of our 60mm round bases, so we've got that covered off there as well. We've got our £4.75 saving, and on month 2, we're going to put that towards some more fun stuff. So at the end of month 1, we quickly went over what we had. One of the things that we didn't have was the 3rd leg of the Napoleonic trifecta, the cavalry. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I think the Peninsula, I think, the French in the Peninsula, I think dragoons. Now, there wasn't just dragoons there. There were hussars and chasseurs à cheval there as well. But for me, I always think of dragoons. Now, what I'm going to recommend here is equally as applicable if you want to go for the chasseurs instead, but I'm just going to go with dragoons. And once again, we're going to head over to the Perrys, and we're going to pick up 2 boxes of their plastic dragoons. Now, they're £20 each, so that's going to knock us back £40. But remember, we did have just under a £5 saved from the last month, so we're actually at £35.25 for this month. Now, the thing is with the Perrys, once again, is these are available from the outpost, and you can get yourself up to 10%, maybe even up to 20% at some places off those. So once again, shop around, but we're going for RRP, and they are £40. Now you get 14 cavalrymen per box, so we've got 2 boxes, that gives us 28 cavalry. Now we are running units of 8, so that gives us enough for 3 units with 4 figures left over. I'm going to recommend that we go onto their accessories part of their website, where you can buy the individual sprues. And here, we're going to pick up 2 command sprues for the dragoons. Now, these are going to set us back £2 each, so that's another £4, taking us to £39.25. And so basically, with the money that we saved last month, we've just put it into buying 2 more command sprues. Now, that gives us another 4 figures, so it takes us to 32 figures with 4 command groups, which is good because 8 divided by 4 is 32, so it means we've got 4 regiments of dragoons, each with their own command. As an additional bonus, these boxes come with their own bases, so we won't need to buy any of those, but they don't come with flags, so we may end up having to buy some flags. They do have a couple of tricolour in there, but if we're aiming for 1811, they should still have the lozenge flags, so we may have to head over to a manufacturer to pick those up later on. But for now, we've got, again, it's also worth stating that there's a lot of reports they didn't actually have flags. It was just the staff and the eagle they took into battle with them. So, you pay your money, you take your choice. But in that £39.75, we've now got 4 regiments of 8 cavalry, and we've also got, I believe it's 12 dismounted dragoons as well. So with just over £60 left in our sweaty hands, we can move on to something else. Now this is going to be a bit of a fun choice for me. We're going to buy a unit because these were in Junot's division. We're going to buy a unit that are the descendants of the infamous or famous, the descendants of the wild geese. The forerunners of the Foreign Legion, the La Légion Irlandaise. You'll have to excuse my terrible French there, as always. Now, these bad boys were only a small unit, so we're only going to have to buy 3 packs to represent these guys. But we're going to stick with the Perrys. They've recently just released a line of mid-war light infantry. So they're similar uniform-wise, but slightly different. And because these are the Irish, we're going to make them look, we're going to actually go out of our way to make them look extra cool. So we're going to get one pack of FN 245, one of 246, and one of 247. Now, if you don't know sort of what I'm talking about, get the page up here while I'm talking here, because we could splash out and go for FN 244. Those are grenadiers wearing bearskins, and FN 248, and they're the voltigeurs in Kolpaks. We could go for those, but as it is, because we're only going for a small unit, I think if we get the ones with the sort of the fancy shakos with the big plumes, we can paint 3 of them up as the Grenadier Company, 3 of them up as the Light Company. Now, with us basing our units in bases of 4, you might just want to use 16 figures from these, but it just means that we've got a small unit, but these are metal, they look a little bit different, they're also sort of running forward as well. So it just gives something else a little bit different, and it means that instead of having to paint the endless horde of blue and white, we get to paint something different as well. A nice green and yellow outfit they've got going on. I should say as well that if you do go down the Kolpak route, I've never seen a painting of the Irish Legion in Kolpaks. I've seen them in bearskins, but not in Kolpaks. So it's not beyond the realm of possibility that they would have worn them. But yeah, I mean, for me, you can save money and just buy the 1 pack with the fancy shakos. So those 3 packs comes to £22.50 because they are £7.50 each, and that takes us to a running total of £62.25. So we've got £37.75 left over, and there's a few ways that you can go with this, because ultimately we've sort of we've built the core of our army now. We've got 8 battalions of infantry, including 1 large and 1 small. We've got a tiny, possibly 2 tiny units of dismounted dragoons, and we've got 4 units of mounted dragoons. We've also got some artillery as well. So we've got the core of a pretty decent army there, I think. So this very much is a case of what you're interested in, I would say. Now, the first and the simplest way to go would be to look at the Orbat, and we see that in the order of battle, the Legion Islandes were brigaded with 3 battalions of the 86th Line Regiment. So we could use £25 to buy another box of the Victrix Infantry, and that would give us 60 figures, so that would give us enough for another large battalion and a medium-sized battalion. That would require us to use 56 figures, so we'd still have some left over as well. And that would take us to 10 battalions of infantry, including 2 large ones, which, is really a full army in of itself there. That's pretty good going. Alternatively, we can do what I would suggest that we do, and add the Irish to the 3 battalions of the 15th, and that would give us 2 brigades of 4 battalions then. And I'm going to recommend that we use some of the money that we've still got to make some more impressive command bases, or maybe spruce up the ones we've already got. So I'm going to suggest that we buy FN 240, that's infantry colonels, or mounted infantry colonels. Now, 2 of these guys wear bicorns, the 3rd one wears a shako, the guy in the middle. And although the General de Brigade's bicorns would be much more spangly than these, they'd have all like white feathers on them and stuff, then we can either leave them as is and say that they are, they're campaign dress effectively, or we could always sculpt some feathers on ourselves. The 3rd guy, the guy in the shako, you could add him to perhaps the Irish, he could be their colonel, or you could add him to one of the large battalions, something like that. Just to make them stand out a little bit more, but I would tend to use him as an actual colonel. You could, of course, always use him as an ADC as well, so put him on one of the bases with the bicorn guys, and he just counts as an aide-de-camp. But that said, we are going to also buy some ADCs as well. We're going right back to the start of the French range, FN3 mounted ADCs for them. And, basically what we'll do is we'll just add those to the base with the bicorn chaps, and then we've got ourselves a bit of a command base. There's 3 in there, so we've got 6 altogether. So we can have 3 command bases, or we can always use one of them as an infantry colonel, and then put the other one on the base with Junot as well, to give us 2 brigade commanders, the divisional commander, and, you know, just a battalion with a mounted officer. Now, speaking of command, one thing that we don't have command for are the Dragoon division. Oh, brigade, I guess it would be. Well, actually, no, I don't know. Yeah, division, perhaps. So we're going to go back to the Perrys, and we're going to grab a Dragoon officer. Now, I was going to originally suggest that we could head over to Front Rank for this, but they've recently been bought by Gripping Beast, so I'm hoping to see those guys soon. There's been no word from Gripping Beast when the figures are going to be available, which is a bit of a shame because I need to pick up quite a bit of stuff from Front Rank. I was kind of putting it off, and I left it too long and did not get it. So it's my own fault there. But yeah, so we're going to skip Front Rank. We're going to head back to the Perrys, and we're going to pick up pack FN 202. That's Dragoon Command Galloping. They look rather dashing, I have to say. You could use the officer and the trumpeter, and you could have the standard bearer separately. You could even put him on the base with Junot, or you just do something else with him, really. But those two, I think, make a really good command base. Bung those on a 50mm round, or even possibly a 60mm round, and you've got yourself the Dragoon Command. Now, being a Perry mounted pack, he is, of course, £9, so that would take us to £89.25, leaving us with a tenner and a little bit of change left over. For that, we could buy the second gun to make our artillery battery a battery of 2 guns. So that'd be quite cool. It seems a little bit, you know, bit of a waste, I have to say. A little bit of redundant purchase. So I'm going to suggest something even more redundant and completely off the wall ludicrous. And it's FN 51 Imperial Guard Adjutant Commanders sat at table writing orders. Now that's going to count as a staff team, and you can use it if you've seen the video on my rules for vignettes that I did, which does actually need to be revisited because version 2 has made a lot of those rules obsolete. Not that they were copying me or anything, I think they were. But but no, so you could do that, and I think that's just a nice way of ending off the army, rounding it off a little bit, and just you know, giving yourself a fun little diorama to do. Now, if you don't want to do that, something that we are still missing is a set of colours or a flag for the Irish Legion and for the Dragoons as well. So if you're just like, look, I don't really fancy doing the staff team, I'd rather have the flags for those units, that's absolutely fine. Then you can pop on over to GMB Design and you can pick up 2 sets of their Dragoon flags, pick your regiments on those ones, and you can also pick up the flags for the Irish Legion as well. Now, they aren't cheap, they're $3.75 a sheet, so 3 sheets of those are, let me see, 9, 10, 50, £11.25, which is actually going to put us 50p over our target. So there you go. I don't think that's necessarily the end of the world. And we would have some spare cavalry guidons. If we have any Dragoon regiments in future, we can add them to them. So yeah, you know, overall, I don't think that's necessarily the end of the world. In fact, looking a little bit closer on their website, I can't actually see that they do some Irish Legion. You might need to look at 7 Years' War ones. But they're out there somewhere, or you know, you could just not go 50p over budget and do without the Irish Legion flags. But there we go, that's a full army for under £200. Let's have a quick go through what we've got. So we've got 7 battalions of French infantry, one of which is of 32 figures, that makes it a large battalion. We've got one small battalion I should say, of Irish infantry. Those ones are metal light infantry figures. We've got 1 gun, that represents our battery, and we've got 4 regiments of Dragoons, and all of those units have brigade commands, and we've got your boy, Andros Junot himself, I should say, and those bases, they're a little bit more decorated than necessary. They've got some ADCs on them and things like that. You've either got all the flags for the Dragoons, or you've got yourself a sweet-looking staff team as well. So thank you very much for listening. Now, normally I would have had pictures of the units up on the screen as I've been going through this, but I've had to use archive paintings and things like that because, well, for 2 reasons. One, I don't actually own the Victrix mid-war infantry, so they would have been representative anyway. And the second thing is, unfortunately, the area where I do the photography, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. I've set up my 3D printer on there, and it's a bit of a nightmare, so I've not had a chance to get all the figures out and photograph them. Mainly as well because the way work's gone recently, it's gone a bit more hectic. So unfortunately, until I can sort of get a handle on it a bit more, I'm going to stop doing the Wednesday night videos I know a lot of you guys look forward to those, but unfortunately I don't have the time to get all the resources together and get them recorded, because unfortunately it's just gone absolutely crazy at work at the moment. So I will be doing videos every day over the Christmas period. I can record those in advance and get those out. So we will be having another advent calendar with a prize at the end of it, so stay tuned for that one. But going forward, we're just going to be doing the Sunday ones for the regular episodes, and we'll take it from there. That'll certainly be the case before Christmas. We'll have to review it again in the new year. But thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you guys next time, where hopefully we will be continuing our look at Napoleon's Swiss regiments, although that may change depending on which scripts I get finished first. But anyway, thanks very much, and I'll see you guys then.